Hey, what's going on, you guys? Today I wanted to make a video kind of talking about how I broke into the cybersecurity market and landscape as a new Gen Z college graduate. So, end of 2023, December of 2023 is when I graduated. So, I've been in the field a couple of years now, and it's been going pretty well, honestly. But as any of you guys probably know, if you're in college, if you're in computer science, cybersecurity, anywhere in that field, and probably in any field when it comes to college right now, the hardest part when graduating, when getting a job, is getting your foot in the door somewhere. And this is definitely the case when it comes to cybersecurity. I think unemployment amongst college grads is pushing like 10% now. It's getting rough for college kids out there. And a lot of it has to do with the automation of jobs, obviously with artificial intelligence, which I could make a whole separate video talking about that, but also the outsourcing of jobs, which I actually think is more impactful in my field. I'm not someone who's super doomer about AI taking my job as of yet. We'll see in, 5 years how far AI progresses, but I do think what impacts college graduates, especially in cybersecurity right now, more is the outsourcing of jobs to countries like the Philippines and India and Thailand and things like that. Because you can pay people way less, like $5 an hour and stuff that's just crazy, So my college career essentially, I went to high school, did some dual enrollment in high school, just got some general, what do you want to call classes out of the way while in high school, like Rhet and Comp, research writing, things like that. So then I was able to get into a local community college near me, and I went for an associate's degree, so a 2-year degree in system administration. So we worked a lot with Active Directory, creating users, computer hardware, kind of like a lot of hardware and sysadmin type work, system administrator type work. And that 2-year degree transferred very well to my bachelor's degree, where I went to a 4-year university for information assurance and cyber defense, which was the title of the degree, which essentially was their cybersecurity degree. And so I did another year and a half at the university, and I was able to graduate with a bachelor's in cybersecurity, an associate's with system administration, associate's degree. Prior to graduating my bachelor's degree, the summer before, I tested and passed the CompTIA Security Plus, which is very big. If you guys are thinking about trying to get into cybersecurity, just for the job filtering alone and to get through HR, I cannot stress it enough. Get the CompTIA Security Plus. That is by far the most valuable entry-level cert you can get. There are other certifications, practical certifications out there, like Blue Team Level 1, that are better for teaching you, actual hands-on skills. The Security Plus is all theory, pretty much, multiple choice theory-based security. But it is so important when it comes to getting hired for just HR job filters. So don't even think about it. Even if you think it's easy and you could get something harder, get the Security Plus just for the job filters, man. It is huge. So the summer before I graduated college, I passed the CompTIA Security Plus, along with I was doing a 3-month summer internship at the same time at a local cyber compliance firm. And so I was just kind of getting essentially brief introduction into, NIST and cyber compliance frameworks, and kind of doing some QA user testing for some of their internal programs and whatnot. It was nothing crazy, but it was some related experience I could throw on a resume. And that is also huge. If you guys can get an internship or some kind of job experience prior to graduating college, that is also going to be very huge, because experience is king. In order to get into some of these, basic level roles, you need to have some certifications and whatnot, which is why I recommend the Security Plus. But yeah, take anything you can get, even if it's like help desk, even if you're not getting paid, honestly, just because of how saturated the market is. But get work experience, get, the Security Plus, Network Plus if you want. I kind of passed the Network Plus. I had some Microsoft Technology Associate entry-level certs, which covered fundamental security and networking and Windows basics and things like that. So I didn't take the Network Plus, but definitely understand the fundamentals of computer hardware, networking especially. Get the Security Plus. Get as much hands-on work experience that you can at your college or university or anything prior to graduating. And the biggest tool by far that I utilized was networking and reaching out to people at my 4-year university. That is huge. Talk to your teachers, find out what kind of leads they might have, because they probably do have something. It might not be ideally what you want, but really, as a new college graduate, you don't really get your choice to pick. You can't be greedy in this situation. So get whatever you can prior to graduating. And then also prior to graduating, through networking at my 4-year university, I started working part-time for a company that delivered an MDR, or malware detection and response product, essentially. And so I was kind of like a help desk support kind of employee for them, along with doing analyst and cyber work as well, a lot of log reading and whatnot, which is a very valuable skill. So I was also able to do that part-time prior to graduating. And then once I graduated, I went full-time with them. Now, it was not a high-paying position. I was making $46,000 a year coming out of college, which was not ideal, obviously. Everyone, wants to make 60, 70, 80 graduating, and a lot of times that's just not the case. Now, I've been very blessed in terms of I was able to graduate with zero college debt, and I had parents that, helped me out, so I could afford to take a job that paid that little. But I knew, and my teachers told me this too, when you get a job like that, if you're able to get your foot in the door, even though the pay sucks, you really got to grind it out for a year or two, really cut your teeth, and the dividends will start to pay off. And that's essentially what happened. Is I got this job. I was working part-time, making like $17 an hour while I was in school. I graduated. They bumped me up to $46,000 a year, which was about $22 an hour, something like that, 21, 22. And then I worked for them for about 10 months, 10, 11 months. We got bought out by a larger company, and I still remained with that product, but essentially I got paid the same, even though we got merged and bought out by another company. And then this past, coming into 2025, starting in like May, I made the swing to like second shift because we had a 365 compliance kind of regulation, SLA we had to meet. So we had to have somebody available 24/7, 365 days of the year. So switching to night shift, I was able to get a differential. So that kind of bumped me up to, I think, 50 to 51,000 a year, which still isn't great. And you got to work kind of crappy hours to get that kind of pay. But, it was extra pay. I was willing to do it. And it wasn't as busy, wasn't as crazy. I didn't have any management that was really looking over my shoulders. So it was a win-win to me. And then over the course of this past summer, I also studied for and passed the CompTIA CYSA Plus, which is the step above the Security Plus, kind of for computer and cybersecurity analysts. So while I was working kind of like that second shift that was slower, I was studying for the CYSA to kind of keep my skills sharper in case I wanted to look elsewhere in the market. And so I passed that certification. And I also was able to use that to really beef up my LinkedIn profile. And that is also something else I will definitely say as a tip for you guys. Make your LinkedIn profiles, treat them like your resume, get them as beefy as possible, connect with as many people as possible. You shouldn't be graduating college without a minimum 500 connections on there. Connect with a ton of people, put all the certifications and work experience you can, really build out your bio. And I even paid for LinkedIn Premium. I think it was like $200 a year. And LinkedIn Premium was able to, it would boost your profile views. So if there's any recruiters out there looking for someone to hire, they're more likely to come across your profile. It would use AI so that if you wanted to inquire about a job specifically, it could automatically write you a small essay about like who you are, what kind of makes you qualify for the role, and you could reach out to recruiters that way. It would also do automatic analysis in terms of based on your LinkedIn profile, comparing you to the job posting and showing you how well you match up to the job posting. And it would also show you how many people, tried to apply to a specific job and how you stacked up experience-wise to the other people applying for that position. So it was a very, very useful tool. I will say that, very useful tool. So I would definitely say beef up your LinkedIn profiles, put on there, open to work and things like that. And that's essentially what I did. Is my LinkedIn profile just kept getting beefed up with my certifications, and as time went on, and I always had on there that I, at least to recruiters, that I was open to work. And essentially that's how my new job today reached out to me. A recruiter back in September reached out to me about the title was Information Security Engineer, which is a fancy title for, realistically, my job is more the level of a SOC 1 analyst, maybe a SOC 1.5. I do more than just like reading alerts and raising a hand. I remote into machines and, confirm remediation, but a lot of it is alert triage and things like that, but just learning a ton. But, the title was Information Security Engineer is the official title. But essentially a recruiter reached out to me after they saw my profile, and I am currently making $68,000 a year now. So I've kind of jumped from, 46 to 51 to 68 now. Next year, if I get a 2 to 3% bump, that'll put me kind of at the $70,000 mark. And I think, once you get your foot in the door and you start getting those years piled up, then the job offers will just start coming to you, especially on, tools like LinkedIn. So that's kind of like my path and how I've ended up where I am and how I got there. And so my biggest, again, if I was going to make this into bullet points to wrap this video up, when you go to college, get whatever work experience you can get that's related in the field, whatever it is. Get certifications that really matter. I like the Blue Team Level 1, and I think it's a great teaching tool. I haven't taken it yet, but it was kind of like on my to-do list until I got my new job. But get certifications that are going to be good for HR, like the Security Plus. Get as much work experience as you can prior to graduating. Get those certifications prior to graduating, and then reach out to everybody you can at your university. Get your name out there, go to extracurriculars, shake hands, do whatever it takes, because that's essentially how I was able to get my foot in the door. And then once you're in the field for a year or two, even if the pay ain't great, stick it out. Once you're there for 2 to 3 years, you'll start to see the dividends pay off, and hopefully AI in the end doesn't steal all our jobs. But thank you guys for watching. I'll make some videos going forward on my thoughts on AI and also job outsourcing in the country and what I think the future might behold when it comes to this field. But if you have any more specific questions, definitely let me know. Let me know if you're in the field or what it took you to kind of get your foot in the door. I'm really curious to hear all about your guys' stories. And yeah, that's all for now. Have a good one.